ZOE, Z-O-E. Not Zooey Deschanel, like the actress musician, but ZOE, the Greek word associated with being your true self as you serve others and live with fulfillness of life. That is the Greek word for that is ZOE. Jim Murphy, the author of Inner Excellence, again, this is the one I'm reading and I've been bringing up every day pretty much, this book right here, describes ZOE as the state of being possessed of vitality and with absolute fullness of life, real and genuine, active, vigorous. It's the full potential of your inner life, the generator of intense beauty and passion. ZOE is the full expression of love, wisdom, and courage. Murphy continues, most people don't actually know what they want besides material success. So to live your best life, Murphy suggests living ZOE. Love is fearless. Wisdom creates the best long-term decisions. And courage does it all with boldness and grace under pressure. Murphy says, to be wholehearted is to seek to learn and grow in love, wisdom, and courage above all else. And finally, if you want to live an extraordinary life, you cannot let other people's words or actions take you out of your rhythm or flow. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, R. Brandon Long, and this is Ascent Life Live. We're here with the mission to inspire 1 million people a day to live their best lives and to be the best version of themselves. This is Ascent Life Live. Please subscribe to the show on YouTube or I'm on YouTube, R. Brandon Long. I'm also on X and TikTok under R. Brandon Long. And then for daily visual inspiration, follow Ascent Life on Instagram. We are live 4 days a week. So if you are tuning in to these episodes, leave a comment or something, and we will respond before the end of the show. All right. So our guest today is, I've copied the wrong thing on here, is Austin Luckett. It's not Case Johnson, that's for sure. Austin Luckett, photographer and craftsman and philosopher and friend, Austin Luckett. So welcome to the program, Austin.
Thank you.
I am curious. Well, we should probably, when people ask you what you do you lead with photographer or do you lead with like, I'm a printer? Like, how do you describe yourself when people are like, hey, what do you do?
Yeah, I lead with photographer. I definitely do that primarily.
Okay. Very good. And then how do you sneak in there? Like, oh, by the way, I do metal prints too on the side.
I say I do photography, but I'm also a printer, and I also teach photography classes. So I like to say that I kind of have 3 things that I just,
You're a creative.
Yeah, creative. And I prefer artist. I think once we embrace that term artist, it kind of changes our viewpoint a little bit.
I like that. Yeah. I like that. Okay, so before we dive into some deep questions with Austin, I do want to do our Instagram of the day. So let me pull it up here. This one, Austin, is one that, if you can buy one of these cars, let me know. Because that would be rad. This site is RM Private Sales, and they are it's a trusted private broker for buying and selling significant motor cars for countless global clients. It's like private Sotheby's. It's Sotheby's account, but it's private. But I don't know what that means because they have an Instagram account. So I don't know.
These are cool cars. I can take pictures of them for sure.
You can take pictures of them for sure. But what I like is that they are like collector's cars. In other words, they're not just like the brand new thing or whatever.
Oh yeah, they've got nice design to the
gorgeous
quality
looking, and built, but classic, and motorcycles. There's a Ducati, but classic Ferraris, Porsches, and more that they sell, I guess, privately. This one comes with a castle. That old Ferrari apparently comes with the.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I've always wanted a castle with my Ferrari.
This is more my style. It's pretty basic and comes with a palm tree right there. But I love the old retro, the cars that are featured on this account. So I follow this account. I think it's pretty cool. If you're into these things, there's a new one. The Bugatti's brand new. But anyway, that count again is, let me scroll to the top, RM Private Sales, for those of you that like to look at fancy cars and get motivated by such things, which I think are pretty cool. So, okay, so Austin Luckett, welcome to the I'm glad you brought books. How much do you read during the week?
I try to read every day a little bit.
Yeah.
So, is there a new book? I have a new book that I'm working on right now, but a lot of times I'm going back to the old books that I have that have meant something to me, and I could come back to them often and find something new every single time.
What do you like self-help books, philosophy, novels? What are you into?
I would say typically they'd be more like classics, like classic books, Sherlock Holmes, something like that, like Jules Verne, those types of books. But typically it's going to be books on philosophy or, Eastern philosophy, something like that.
Yeah. What'd you bring today?
Today I have a couple of books. Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning.
Yeah.
Just a great book.
Are you turning like the pages down and writing notes, and how do you go through those kinds of books?
I typically don't write in the book. I take a blank sheet of paper and make notes on that, and I just keep that in like a little messy binder.
I destroy my books.
Do you?
I pin them up. Yeah.
Sometimes I do that, but I don't know. I don't often.
I dog ear. There's 3 different colors of ink. I mean, because depending on how many times you reread it and stuff, there's one I started with highlighter, and I moved to pen because the highlighter would fade over time, So then so there's old highlighter plus like 3 different colors of pen.
That's kind of like a college habit, I think, maybe.
Yeah,
too.
maybe.
Like they would like underline this and write in the margins and stuff. So I don't usually do that, but I usually make my own notes from it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as a photographer, artist, and craftsman, this is not a question I gave you in advance, and this is just one I read this morning on inner excellence. So let's just deal with that now.
Okay.
He talks about love, wisdom, and courage. Do you feel like you implement love, wisdom, and courage into your work, into your daily life? Like, and if so, how? So love would be fearlessness. Wisdom would be like making good decisions, and courage is more grace under pressure or facing those fears.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. These are things that I think about all the time, and I did no idea you were going to bring this up.
No.
So it's like we were.
I just read about it this morning.
Like we were connected. Like
we were connected.
Like seriously, you just like. So.
You're my people.
Absolutely. You read that passage. I absolutely agree with it. Wisdom is extremely important to me. I try to use that in my everyday life as much as possible, and which is different than knowledge, right? I think wisdom is like knowing that there's a lot you don't know, and stuff. So I think you're coming at problems from that standpoint. I think you're already kind of ahead of the game. People walk in, say they know everything. The circle of our knowledge increases the circumference of our ignorance. Is a quote that. I think that's
the more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
And so to me, I'm driven by that idea, personally.
How does that, or does it? Can you see it in your art, in your photographs?
I think you have to look at the world from a certain perspective, or you don't have to, but like a lot of photography is about perspective.
Yeah.
And so what I'm doing is looking at different perspectives and being aware of different perspectives and trying to capture that. So it is very important to what I do, what I try to do.
Yeah. Talk to me about your photography a little bit. Let's back up and just go into how you got there, because you've taken. I pulled up your bio, I think, and there's a roundabout way that you got there. You bought your first DSLR camera in 2012. Moved from California to Utah. A lot of work is inspired by the West. In addition, you have landscape architecture. Is that the degree? I think.
Yes.
So yeah, how did you come to the photography side of things? Because of course I know you had a recording studio in Burbank as well.
I didn't have one, but I worked at
at one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I worked in
Sweet.
And so that's a great question. Um, yeah, so I graduated with a degree in landscape architecture from the University of Georgia. And after that, I moved out to California and took a job with a landscape construction company, and
Yeah.
we were working out there in Southern California. And yeah, I I really loved that actually, and I loved design. So my background is creative, and I love to create.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then on long story short, the financial crisis, the collapse of the banking system, I think around
08?
2007,
7, 8?
08,
Yeah.
that time frame, put a real
Yeah.
all my clients walked in the door and they're like, we can't pay you.
Mm.
You can work, but we can't pay you.
Mm.
And up until that point, I was just grinding and
Yeah.
stuff like that. We're having fun and stuff and doing well. But at that moment, I kind of took a step back from things, and I was like, gosh, I'm like, I don't know if this is really, really my passion,
Mm.
or anything
Yeah.
like that. And so, I went back to school. It was good. I thought maybe
I did the same thing.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah, in 2008.
I feel like we're kind
That's so funny. Yeah, because I went back to school from 08 to 12. Because I started over. Because I had classes that I had taken early.
Yeah.
While I was in high school and right after.
Yeah.
But then I waited so long that I basically had to start over. So it took me 4 years to get. But I went back after, because I was in the lending industry.
Okay,
and I saw it firsthand, like, oh, it's going down.
It's going.
Like, it's going.
Well,
down.
we're I think we're kind of on a similar life path, if
Right.
you, quote unquote, however you want to say it. But and then that's how that got you into this, right?
Yes, no, 100%. So I was, I grew up in retail, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I've always been creative, and I've always been fascinated with success and wealth and money, and then that's, but also being, I do read a lot and I pay attention to life. That's not everything. Now, money is very important, and money can be awesome. And when you have money, things feel a lot better. You can make different decisions. You can have FU money where it's like anything can happen, but you got money and it doesn't really matter because I got money in the bank and I feel good. And that's a great place to be. But just because you have a lot of money also doesn't mean you have a great life. You can have a lot of money and have a worse life and not be, quote unquote successful. So it's a balance, and that's what Ascent life. That's why we're doing this podcast, so that we can talk to people and kind of get their opinions on what does it mean to them to be successful, to succeed. So I forgot the question, but I was going through life. Why we went back to school in 2008.
Yeah, because I went back to school, you went back to school. And
Yep.
stuff,
Oh, that's right.
And that got you into the podcasting side of things.
Well, so I went back for. Oh, that's right. Because I was kind of chasing money because I had tried the financial industry and I was in real estate. I had done a flip and I had owned some properties in Ogden, like they call them doors, So I had like 6 doors or whatever, and I'm like, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I feel you. I mean, that's. I mean, I think we're very connected in that way, actually, because that was my thought too. And I was like, I'm gonna go get a master's degree in architecture, but I'm like, well, that's sort of the same problem, it's just different,
Yeah.
And so then I went to work in a recording studio because I was like, music, and I was like, I need to be creative. That's all I know. I need to be creative, and so, actually. There's another book. I found this book here called Way of the Peaceful Warrior.
Oops,
that's upside down. Well, because the guy's like that. He's like,
yeah, he is. Like,
Dan.
he's
Millman,
upside down on the phone.
Dan Millman, Way of the Peaceful Warrior. And so, at that time I came across this book here.
Yeah.
And it says the book that changed his life. Well, it did. I mean, that book. At that point in California, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? I was ready to leave school. I'm like, I think I made a mistake here. Going to architecture school. And so I'm like, I need to figure this out. And so that book helped me realize that I probably wasn't on the right path, and that put me on the path that I am on now.
What's the theme? Like, how do you come to that conclusion out of that? What he says in that book?
And so, in that book, it's kind of it's almost like a true story. It's like a part true story, part fictional story. He doesn't really say what it is. It's kind of about him in general. And there's this character, Socrates, just means teacher, really. I mean, I love the Socratic method as well too. So, but it's kind of like that. It's just this conversation he's having with this character, Socrates, and it changes your mindset, and the mindset is what helps you realize how you can make these changes.
Well, it was around that time, 2008, that I was introduced to the book Think and Grow Rich. And that's why, and in there it says, what's your definite major purpose? And I can ask you that now too, because that's when it was like, okay, we talked about this yesterday. It's like, if I had 10 mil or I didn't really have to worry about money, what would I be doing?
Yeah.
And then you back out of it that way and figure it out,
Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
And so, it's not about finding yourself, but creating yourself. So I created the job that I wanted. I think you've done that too. Just definitely done that. And so you're like, I was going out there going like, please give me this job. This is what I want to do. And everyone's like, no. And so I was like, fine, I'll just make what I want to do. And that's kind of what started that path for me too. And so just slowly unraveling those pieces, figuring out what it is I want to do, and changing my mindset, which at that time was there's so many topics there we can get into, but like there's anger, right? There's blame. You're like, this person would just, and stuff. And I realized, wait a minute, that's not helping me. That's not doing any good at all.
No.
And stop, just stop doing it.
Yeah. So how are you feeling now? What's your purpose now?
Yeah, no,
are you in a good place now? Or are you still
no,
Okay.
no. I mean, I do know what my purpose is, and definitely, which is to bring positive, creative energy into the world.
Yeah.
Lead by example and inspire others, which I think you can relate to.
Yeah. Well, and you're a dad, so you're raising a son and daughter, and you're busy, right?
Yeah.
Doing the things.
Yeah.
Being an example.
Yeah. And the other thing that I wanted to be able to do was prioritize my family too, and not really negotiate on that fact. And so a lot of my clients say, they'll be like, I need this. I was like, well, my family comes first. And they go, oh, okay, totally get it. And stuff. So I address their needs, but they understand that that's, my family's first, my business is second, and then there's everything else. That's the way I put it.
Yeah.
There's just all that other stuff. I think it's just kind of out there.
Yeah.
We need to learn, if we really prioritize what we really want, to me, which is family and running a business, then all that other stuff is just kind of a waste of time.
So what's your experience, or what was your experience with running a business before? What was your learning curve like going into the solopreneur thing?
Oh, I had no idea. Like totally deer in the headlights. I didn't know what I was doing at all.
Yeah.
And everything. Yeah. It was like, wait, I'm going to start a business. And, and I mean, nobody that I knew around me knew how to do that, or anything like that.
Where did you go for help, or did you just internet?
I went to help the city of Ogden was a big help to start a business here. That was a big help. Things like that. I did ask around. I got some books and stuff, but it is kind of a lonely process, and everybody's situation is unique as well. So it's kind of hard for people to give you the recipe for it.
Well, you said it though. It is lonely. I don't think people realize how lonely it is when you try and do that, especially if you come from an employer situation. And again, I was like in a management situation. If you're a manager or something, or you have a team and you have all these people, and maybe that's one kind of stress, but also it's rewarding because you have responsibilities, and it's a thing, and you work together as a team to get things done. And then when you are an entrepreneur, that's like, you don't have a team yet, like you're a solopreneur, it's just you.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't delegate anything. Like it's me or it doesn't get done.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think, well, you have to have a high level of self-motivation. There is no one to blame.
Yeah.
You got to blame yourself if it doesn't happen. So you just have to do it. You have to make it work. And I think a lot of people are paralyzed by fear of failure or fear of success, and they don't even start. You
Yep.
know, and sometimes you just got to jump in. It's not going to be, there's never a perfect time
So how did you overcome that?
because I'm insane. I don't know.
But you were scared, right? But but it didn't let it stop you, I guess.
I mean, I just was like, okay, I've got to do this.
Yeah.
I just felt like I had to do this. I just almost felt like I had no choice. Maybe I did.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, because I think, and we talked about this yesterday a little bit too, and it was kind of like, you feel like if I'm working another job and not doing anything that you are passionate about or feel like you have to be doing, you might feel somewhere inside torn or just not happy. And so you saying I had to do it, like you just had to figure it out. There was no no other way.
Yeah, exactly. And so, well, here's something I want to bring up too. Kind of jumps back a little bit about what you're talking about earlier, which is the Japanese concept of ikigai, which kind of aligns with the Greek philosophy of eudaimonia. So
I haven't heard of the eudaimonia.
Okay, eudaimonia is another good one.
Okay.
I hadn't heard of the ZOE one.
Okay.
So we're like, this is awesome. So it's like, good spirit. Eudaimonia just means good spirit, have good spirit. But the ikigai is, now this is where I think it's important, because what it does is balance something that you love. It balances something that you're good at. It balances something that you can get paid for, and it balances something that the world needs. So I think that for me to find that sweet spot is really where you're going to find really fulfillment, and you can get paid for it.
Yeah.
And so it's not just about money. That's a part of it.
Yeah.
But it's part of that equation. And so, but you can balance all of those things together, and that includes your mission, your purpose, along with something that you really love and something that you can get paid for.
So as a photographer, as someone who owns their own business, how are you feeling in your position right now? How would you consider or define success moving forward?
Oh, yeah. I mean, success for me ultimately is finding meaning in what I do, is finding purpose. But it is that balance, right? Of that plus getting paid. So being able to do that, to actually do that, is success. And bringing positive, creative energy into the world is success for me. Inspiring others is success for me. So the ability to do that. So I could grow in that ability. I would love to inspire more people. I would love to take on more jobs to where I can bring that creative energy. And so, but you find that point. I mean, I'm in the point, I feel like, where I'm doing what I love, and I can get paid for it, but I do, I could maybe get paid a little more for it or something like, but I mean, at the same time, I can also dial back my needs as well a little bit too, which is also fine. Okay, I'm like, well, I'm doing that. So, find that point in your life. What do you really need? Too. And so if I make enough to cover my needs, and I'm doing what I love, I mean, just build on that. You don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. Well, so I feel like your family plays a big part in what you do, but what drives you? Do you have deadlines from clients that get you out of bed, or you just like have a passion for the job that like, jump up and 5 a.m. like, let's go, or like,
oh man, what gets me out of well, yeah, that's a good question too. So my kids get me out of bed. I mean, I drive them. So my morning routine is wake up, get my kids ready for school, and take them to school. And then once I do that, I come home and I will make coffee or tea. I'll do a meditation and stuff like that. After that point, I'll work from home for a little bit, and then I'll go in, to my workshop and get work done, or do the other things I need to do, like go take pictures, meet with clients, go do podcasts.
Right.
Like the cool stuff.
Yeah. You're getting paid for this, right?
Oh yeah.
That's a great life. That's a great schedule, I think.
But it's a routine. It is a routine, but I do, my responsibility is to my kids to make sure they get to school and understand. And I really try to teach and impart creativity in the kids and get them excited to learn, like loving to learn. So exploring the world, and I can go out and take pictures of that. That's a great experience for me that I can do with the kids and share that creativity with them.
What are some of the hard things that you have to maybe force yourself to do in your work? Maybe it's making a phone call to a client with bad news or something. I don't know. But
Right. Yeah, I mean, I never like to approach the client with something that's, bad news. I don't know if I'd really ever really have bad news, to be honest. I mean, type of thing, but customer service, I mean, is a very challenging thing because, that's dealing with people.
yeah,
It's a part of the job that I love, but it is very challenging
yeah.
to kind of manage expectations of myself and of the clients.
Well, when it comes to like discipline and getting work done, do you have like hacks for that, or your routine kind of keeps you in the mode of like getting stuff done?
I like to vary the routine actually.
Yeah.
So for me, like I like to throw my routine off just on purpose. I don't necessarily love routine,
Yeah.
but there is certain levels of routine that I do have to do. I mean, the kids just have to go to school, so I
Right.
have to accept that, and everything. So, but every now and then I just try to, change it up. Like maybe I'll drop them off and just go do a quick photo shoot or something for fun, things like that. Enjoy the morning, and then come back and then hit the work stuff.
I think it's super important to expose the kids to the creative lifestyle and to get them, like you're saying, they have this forced routine with school, but even if you switch that up a little bit to just show them something new, they're going to remember the different, right? Every time you take them out there to do something different, like you said, you took them to the aquarium.
Yeah, I took them to the aquarium. Like they were out of school this last week for a couple
Otherwise,
days.
it's like a field trip for
yeah, and the kids' school, my kids' school they do great field trips. They actually take the kids out and do those things, and I do them too, and that's great. I've tried to just impart into the kids a joy of learning, just like a constant process of learning. Like I'm still learning and I'm still a student as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. What are you afraid of?
Um, I mean, I want to just give some platitude. Like the only thing we have to fear
Spiders.
is fear itself.
Yeah.
Snakes. I don't like snakes at all, and it's the year of the snake, by the way.
It is the year of the snake. Yeah.
Happy,
That was yesterday.
It was yesterday. Happy Lunar New Year, and so, we saw snakes at the aquarium, and I took pictures of them.
Did they know? The snakes are like, whoa, it's our year.
Like it's our year.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, if your birth sign is a snake, it's not the best of year for you. It's a challenge year for you. So, I guess that's how it works a little bit. But I'm year of the dragon, which was last year, so we're out of that. So I feel like last year was kind of challenging.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe there's something to that.
Huh. Okay, but your biggest fear would be?
Physical fear, probably snakes. I have I'm like Indiana Jones in that sense.
Okay.
Like no.
Yeah, but like career/life fear.
Oh yeah.
Jeez. Oh yeah.
So I mean, no. I mean, I do everything I do to just overcome fear as much as possible because I think fear is just fear and anger itself is so there's another quote I'll throw out there, so I hate, like I said, I hate to just throw platitudes, but it's like, anger is like grabbing a hot coal and trying to throw it at someone else. You're the only one that's going to get burned. And so I think that anger and fear, it's kind of goes hand in hand, and we need, even though I can accept the fact that I might be angry, I just need to be cautious about what behaviors I have from it. So I don't know. I mean, I like to say I've got no fear, but overcoming fear is important to me and personally. So it's something that I think about, ways to not be afraid. I'm not afraid to fail. I'm hopefully not afraid to succeed either.
Yeah. Well, that's the biggest thing, not being afraid to fail. Because if you are afraid to fail, you probably wouldn't have been an entrepreneur. You'd probably stayed working for somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, failing, I mean, it's gonna happen. I think you talked about the sports thing. The book there earlier was that the teams are gonna lose, so they might have to learn how to lose from time to time.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a failure. You lost.
Yeah.
What do you need to do better next time? So
yeah. Okay, so if you weren't, I mean, you've already done lots of things, but is there anything else that sort of you're driven to outside of photography in the creative realm?
I'm driven towards all types of creativity. I was thinking about starting a podcast.
You should. I can show you how.
Well, I mean, I was kidding about that, but
like you do like video work, or I mean, that's the easiest jump from photography.
Yeah, to switch from photography to go into video. I like doing
should
video.
preference. It's not actually easy. It's just like makes more sense. But
yeah, it's a lot of people do make that move from photography to videography. I like all kinds of art, and so I get personally inspired by not necessarily photography, but I like go to a museum and just look at everything. That inspires me.
Where do you think that comes from? The love of art and like the Zen that you have and studying the philosophy. Where do you think that came from?
I have no idea.
Yeah, because I don't know if everyone's like that,
Right.
So,
I don't. Yeah, a lot of people, they kind of look at photographers that they admire and they want to mimic that kind of style or look. I kind of just go the other approach. I just don't really photography. I look at other forms of art to really inspire me, just anything. And I don't know what it might be. Just, it could be a sculpture. It could be like Banksy stuff that just makes you think like, oh, wow, that's so cool. Like, I mean, I'd love to go running around, like trying to make cool things on the walls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like those street artists and stuff.
100%.
Street art fascinates me, but
Yeah.
I just cannot do it.
Okay. What's on your tick list or whatever for like what you want to photograph? What would be the dream tour to go photograph something? Because you are also into the outdoors and outdoor sports and things. So I don't know if it's something landscape or animal driven, or if it's more like a photo journal on a social thing or something.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely enjoy traveling and stuff like that. I mean, one area of the world I do want to go back to is like Japan or China or Thailand, and I'm interested in the culture there, things like that, and so I'd be interested in trying to capture things like that. Would be just absolutely phenomenal bucket list for me. Yeah.
So you've been there before?
I've been to Japan.
Yeah. Okay.
And I had just barely got a camera, and just some of those temples and things there were just mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
I didn't really know at that point. I just had a camera, but I didn't really know what I was doing with it. It was just,
yeah.
I was that American tourist with the camera.
Oh, that was the first time that ever happened. It was you.
I was that guy.
It was you. Okay. Well, how do you want to be remembered? And you could approach this from the business side, maybe the photography side, the arts side, or your family. Either way, or both.
Well, oh man, I do say that I try to, be I'm a father first, really, and so, but I'm a father, but I'm also an artist, and so those two things are part of me, and so, but ultimately, I do try to, back up a little bit and just be like, I'm just human. I'm just another human on this planet,
We'll probably remember you for that.
I like to set the bar low.
That's pretty
so
good.
that I can, I can hit these things.
Yeah, that's cheating. Well, what other books did you bring? You brought at least 3, right? Or more than that?
Let's see. The other one that I brought was is The Outward Mindset by the Arbinger Institute.
I have not heard of that.
The one that I wanted to bring that I didn't have, I actually have a Kindle version, which is Leadership and Self-Deception by the Arbinger Institute. That one is, I was looking for things that help break us out of that limited mindset.
Yeah, read so it's the outward
mindset.
mindset. And then what's it say? It says that your fingers are over it.
How to change lives and transform organizations.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's just about kind of a little bit of a management book, for organizations. But the Leadership and Self-Deception, getting out of the box, that is a great book that helps transform your mindset. And I'm big on the mindset thing. And so it's, an inward manager or an outward manager. So the inward manager would say, listen, you guys, don't screw this up. You got to make me look good.
Yeah.
And then the outward manager says, all right, team, what can I do to help you be successful? That kind of thing. And so that's in a nutshell, it's kind of what that stuff's talking about.
How does that help you tell you as your own boss what to do?
It does because it's about relationships, and no matter what, I have to be aware of the relationships that I have with everybody, my family, certainly my clients who end up being my bosses, essentially. There is the joke. I don't have one boss. I've got a bunch of bosses that, are my clients.
Yeah.
And so they kind of and my kids are the boss.
Yeah.
And so, absolutely it does help me a lot because it helps me focus on those relationships and how to best handle situations.
Okay. You mentioned your morning routine, and it's a pretty good idea to have a moment to yourself when you get home after dropping the kids off. It's probably a little crazy in the mornings, and then you drop the kids off at school, and then you meditate. I've never really meditated before, but then one of our first guests was Thane, and real estate investor, redeveloper, I think.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah. So, and he meditates a long time in the mornings, like up to an hour and a half or something. And so I'm like, God, there's got to be something to it. So for beginning, how did you start? And then what kind of advice would you give to someone that was just starting meditation?
Okay, so my advice on the meditation, and I know that thoughts of meditation itself kind of elicit these ideas of mythology, just kind of sitting cross-legged and you're floating in a cloud or something. But
wait, that's not how it works. I'm so disappointed.
No, and so I had to burst your bubble on that quite a bit. I'm
doing it wrong.
And so the benefit of the meditation for me specifically is to clear the mind, quiet the mind, and not be, sitting there going like, oh, what happened on social media 6 hours ago, and what am I going to say in this podcast today, and just kind of ping-ponging.
Because that's where my mind goes.
Yeah.
All the time.
And stuff. So the point of that is to kind of quiet that, stop that, and stop that kind of ping-ponging back and forth.
Detoxing your mind a little.
Pretty much.
Okay.
And so you kind of want to reach this moment of clarity. You want to have a clear mind. And so a lot, the meditation that I like to do is called a Vipassana meditation, which is really just clearing your mind. You're not really thinking about anything. You're just trying to think about breathing. That's really all you try to do. Or you can even do a walking meditation. You can also do that, being more mindful. So it's a mindfulness meditation. This is what I prefer. So you're not really necessarily meditating on anything. You're trying to kind of just stop the mind, slow the mind down. And I do get people that kind of well, can I pray or something like that and stuff? And it's if you want to meditate on, your religion or God or the universe or anything else like that, that's also fine. It's not a religious practice by any means too. So I think people sometimes get confused by that. But for
Yeah, I
me,
was a little bit, and because I just learned the other day, it is like which I think is something that we absolutely should be doing these days because of our access to media and social media, specifically on our phones 24/7, that at least my mind is always going. And so that's the idea, is the only other time it's not going is when I'm sleeping, but sometimes you need to just take a break and empty the mind.
yeah, exactly. So it's just being so the mindfulness part of it too. It's like I could be sitting here and thinking about what am I going to say next, instead of listening to you ask questions. And so if I'm doing that, then I'm not being very mindful. And so that's kind of what for me the purpose is for that.
That is hard to do, especially
Yeah.
when you're hosting a podcast or you're trying to think, okay, well, what am I going to say? But it is something like I'm not a huge Joe Rogan guy. I've never watched a full 3-hour show.
I haven't either.
But I've
actually.
seen the clips and stuff, and what he does really well is just that. Is he does read and he writes, because he was a comic first, and so he writes a lot. But he listens to the people that are in there, and he knows enough stuff that he can respond with a pretty good question afterwards. And that's one of the reasons he's so successful, just because he's listening.
Yeah, I think
present in the moment.
Right, exactly. Just taking that in, listening, and then taking a moment to respond to it. So he's not in his mind thinking, wait, what else am I going to say? What else am I going to say?
Yeah.
Just listening to that, taking a moment, and then responding to that.
Yeah.
And so it is about concentration. Meditation itself is about building concentration and mindfulness.
We have some people on the live, so I just want to mention, if you wanted to ask Austin anything, feel free to chime in on a comment, and we'll get to that here. Did you bring homework? What do you got over there?
No.
He's like, by the way, I've got something for you.
Yeah. Here, ask away. I've got all the answers right here on this small piece of paper.
You're going to have to leave that here because I'm going to study that. It looks like an Ikigai chart.
Yeah, I printed the little Ikigai thing out. I put that on my Insta because the visual is so much easier to look at than it is to explain the Ikigai.
Totally, yeah.
And so I threw that up on my Instagram, but I also printed it here to look at it.
What is your Instagram, by the way?
It's iron.pine.
Iron.pine.
Yeah.
But that was all that's on. You didn't want to...
Yeah.
Okay.
I do have a quote.
I feel like the paper needs to get used.
Yeah. Okay. So I was gonna read some quotes from Man's Search for Meaning.
I want to hear that because I've not read the book, but I read so many quotes out of it. So I'm interested. I'm into it.
Okay. Perfect. What I was gonna talk about was one of the quotes from Man's Search for Meaning is, everyone has his own specific vocation or mission in life. Everyone must carry out a concrete assignment that demands fulfillment. Therein he cannot be replaced, nor can his life be repeated. Thus, everyone's task is unique as is his specific opportunity to implement it. And then the other one was, life is not primarily a quest for pleasure as Freud believed, or a quest for power as Alfred Adler taught, but a quest for meaning.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to find meaning. What does it mean to live your best life?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's so much in that book. That book is just packed with wisdom, and it's incredibly powerful. I actually went, so Frankel's a Auschwitz survivor, concentration camp, and I went and visited Dachau, another concentration camp, and that book was in the bookstore right there at the concentration camp grounds that they kind of preserved part of it.
Yeah.
And just such a powerful book.
Have you read Gulag Archipelago?
I haven't.
Oh boy, that's a rough one. That's a rough one.
Is it?
I'm about 3/4 through, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to finish it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What is that about?
The Russian camps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's horrific of what... I mean, we kind of saw some of this during the October 7th attack in Israel, but it's of what humans are capable of. That's like
Yeah.
more recent, I guess.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But the stories that they there's like, where are there no souls in these people? Like, you know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
was just the evilness
Yeah.
that happens. It'll blow your mind, and it really does make you think like, yeah, that stuff really happened.
Yeah, for sure.
It's wild.
It is wild. Yeah, it is, and it likes. But I think the context part of that book, Man's Search for Meaning, talks about his experiences there, how he survived it, came out of that, and was able to be pretty successful, and created a philosophy called logotherapy, which is, I mean,
it's not looking at logos.
it's not looking at logos. It's
not
logos
design.
meaning the world, I believe, and
Logos.
stuff. But I'm not an expert in the subject, but it is, there's some very powerful ideas in there, and his perspective on that whole thing is just absolutely mind blowing. I mean, we talk about doing hard things. You read that book and you go, wait, I could do anything like that. If he can get through that, I can do anything.
Yeah, but so and so at work was mean to me the other day and stuff. Yeah, I mean, it trivializes some of the things that we stress about on the daily, because
it kind of does, but it puts things in perspective too. I mean, it does, and we do have those interactions that are frustrating, but we got to move past that stuff.
Okay, so how would you define your best life? The Ascent life.
The Ascent life. Well, I'm on the Ascent life
1% better every day.
podcast,
So you're pretty much
I've
there.
made a giant
And
leap.
you have the hat now.
I have the
yeah.
hat. I mean, this is my hat now. So I will wear this with pride, and I
But you wear hats.
But I have your guys' hats. You guys have like the van sessions. I mean, I even have the decals. Like I'm rocking on the car and everything. Like I'm bought. I'm sold.
I love it.
You know, where's my Ferrari? I want the castle.
I can't. I'm not there yet. I'll let you know when that happens. Okay, but definition. Do you have a definition? Do you think what would be the definition of living your best
life?
Yeah.
I mean,
and there's no wrong answer.
Yeah, there isn't really, is there? But I mean, living the principles of the Ikigai. I mean, if I can really fully live that eudaimonia that I talked about, that good spirit, just have a good spirit, and the ZOE thing. I mean, the courage, the wisdom, the love. I mean, wow.
Okay, so I love the message, but I hate the ZOE. Just is kind of a weird word phonetically.
Yeah, like, well, it sounds like a person.
Yeah,
is it like Z.O.E?
Right, because they were all named after this, because it means life. In Greek, Greece, Greek.
Okay.
Greek. It means life in like Greek life.
Yeah.
ZOE. And then it became a name that we think is trendy and new. It is not new.
It's
yeah. Not new at all.
I've heard of the name ZOE, but I did not know it was
I didn't either till today.
A concept like that. So I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I learned something new for sure.
Yeah. No, that's this book is killing me. It's got so much good stuff in it.
Yeah, I mean, if we can all incorporate that stuff into our lives and take care of our family and have some fun too.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes back to a little bit about balance, right? Have some fun too. And you do have fun. You get out with the kids and do some stuff with the family. And so you have at least it looks like you strive to have a decent work-life balance.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, part of my job is going out there, and
it's not just for the gram.
It's not just for the gram.
Okay.
I have a love-hate relationship with social media itself.
I'm finding out. You just killed your Facebook the other day.
So yeah, I had to deactivate Facebook. I just couldn't really take it anymore. It just was a source of stress, really, and stuff. And who's yelling at me on Facebook or Instagram today?
Yeah,
because I'm trying to help people.
Yeah. Oh, good times. Oh,
but. Anyway, so I just love to get out there and experience the world, because I mean maybe people could be a lot happier if we could just stop doom scrolling on social media and go for a walk, or turn the news off and pick up a book. I mean, maybe that could solve a lot of problems. I don't know.
it'd solve a ton of problems. How do we get people to do I mean, we don't have a large enough audience for this just to reach every person in mass, but that's really the answer. It's like, they say touch grass. Like, go touch some grass. Like, get off the freaking internet for 10 minutes. And
just get grounded too. So here's another thing that I do when I go out and take pictures is take my shoes off and just touch the ground with my feet. Like, it's just an incredible experience. I don't like it's, I mean, maybe it sounds odd to people,
no,
but
it's not odd. You know why it's not odd? Because I just read this passage the other day. Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. He's got a line in there that says something about the doctor prescribed, and it was walking barefoot, riding a horse, and cold baths.
Oh.
This was 1,800 years ago.
Okay.
And that's what the doctors were prescribing people to feel better 1,800 years ago, as written by Marcus Aurelius in Meditation.
I'm in my best life to take ice baths, walk barefoot, and ride horses.
Ride horses.
That's it. That's all I need.
It's not the worst life, man. It sounds so good. Okay, so last question for you, Austin. We'll let you off the hot seat here, man. Thanks for spending some time with me today, too. And I know you're just getting over being sick, so thanks for coming into the studio. But what advice would you give to entrepreneurs, solopreneurs who are they haven't started that yet, so they want to be, or like burgeoning creatives, burgeoning artists. They're working a job, and the job, they don't hate the job, but it's not what they totally want to do. So how would you make the step from working the job to becoming the full-time artist? And or if you're new at becoming a full-time artist, what kind of advice would you have to have people help like succeed? Simple question.
Yeah, simple question. No, no, this is my personal belief, is, if you grab some of those books and inspire you and get into it, but don't just read books about it. Just go out there and do it. You've got to just kind of just cut the cord and do it. But at the same time, have a plan too, like have a concrete plan to to kind of, what else are you going to do, or how are you going to get there? You don't necessarily have to blow everything up. I mean, some people might need that to just cut that tie. Like, I'm just going to quit my job and I'm going to do it. That
bad idea. Unless you got a lot of money in the bank.
Yeah, it's not the greatest idea. I mean, it could work, but if you have concrete steps planned, like, well, if I can do this and do this and do this and do this, then, you just do it step by step instead of all at once.
It's harder than you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
By the way. When you try it. So when I say it's a bad idea, it's a great idea actually, but just make sure you have the money situation figured out. And I've seen a few quotes here and there by some entrepreneurs that's like, some of them say, if you're matching your same income with your side hustle or your arts or, the creative side, that you're making it your job, okay, yeah, then you can totally do it. And or if you have 6 months to a year's spending in the bank, then it's like, okay, but I would say a year, like at least a year.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be harder than you think.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe, I mean, in some respects, maybe kind of follow like Dave Ramsey's advice, like on that extent.
God,
or
I hate his advice.
Do you?
Well, not entirely. It's good. It's good for some people, but
yeah,
I'm just definitely more of a like, don't get into debt. That's the best part.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so like, I know that there's like two aspects of that, and I'm saying that there's a lot of people that probably go out there and they think, they're going to get in all this debt and have all these assets and they're going to make all this money, and then they get in trouble. Right. And so that's the thing too. And so, but if
2008,
if you can pick up those assets with cash, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so, I think what I agree with what Dave Ramsey is saying is that people have a bad relationship with money. That's the problem, type of thing. And so I agree with him on that respect. But, if people want to build assets by going into debt, that's also fine. I'm not saying that's a bad idea. Or anything like that. But if you want to kind of, live as an entrepreneur or an artist, you do need to think about the financial aspect of that and how you're going to save money, how you're going to have a safety net. And if how are you going to, take on debt or try to eliminate debt as much as possible.
Yeah. Oh man, I said last question, then I just thought of a new one because you were talking about it and I was paying attention.
Oh, good.
But on the topic of grants, and grants in the arts specifically, I was originally against grants in the arts because I don't like, well, because sometimes depending on the grant, they would tell you how to do the art. And it was
Okay.
like, well, no, don't tell me how to do the art. I don't want that. But then if there's no grants for the arts with loose parameters, then and the arts just have to compete against other artists, then do we end up in the world of like pop music where there's not a lot of soul there, but that's the only way to make money?
Right. That's a good question. I'm not necessarily familiar with that. I don't actually usually go for grants or anything like that myself. But I can see why they would put some parameters on it because, like, if
You
they're
have
like,
to.
they're like, here's $500,000, and
No, yeah,
and they
no,
tape
there's
a
gotta be-
banana to
right.
a
right, right.
thing. I mean, that's what artists do, you
Yeah.
know. I don't know. So I mean, I feel like there has to be some kind of parameters on it, but sometimes parameters can make you more creative.
Mm.
I mean, you've got to kind of work within these things, and you got to go, okay, here's the constraints that I have. How do I work within that?
Mm-hmm.
So it could possibly make some people more creative, but I can see how people would fundamentally have a problem with it.
I had a creative writing professor once. It was a great class we had. It was called, dang it, I forgot. But you're writing on the land or something.
Okay.
Writing on the. So we would go for a hike, and then he would give us a prompt, and one of the prompts was get as close as you can to this tree and tell me what you see, and then you had to write about it.
Huh.
And that's really narrow, right?
Yeah,
Like, and
right.
then you had to write about, and like you said, it was like, yeah, but this is awesome because then everything else goes away.
Right.
And I can only write about this narrow focused thing, and then whatever you do, you become creative. You're like, well, what story am I going to tell about this?
About this
About
one
this
single
one
tree, and then
single-
you don't have
yeah.
to worry about all the other stuff going on around it, which could possibly
Interesting paradox.
be
there.
overwhelming. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Yeah.
Thanks for your time today.
Thank you. Thanks for
sure.
having me.
Yeah.
This is so much fun.
I've got one last. Well, we've been doing this whole time, but wisdom from the pages. I have this 366 Meditations, a Daily Stoic book here from Ryan Holiday. Who I've got like 3 of his books, and did I bookmark it? Yeah. Oh, this is a great quote. External things. This calls out so many people. External things can't fix internal issues. Oh, snap.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard one to hear sometimes, but it's true.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. That's something. That's another big point to think about. As you. That's another thing about meditation is you can kind of start to realize like, hey, wait a minute, maybe I'm the problem here in some scenarios. But that's a hard thing to
Yeah.
do and to accept, like, because we want to constantly blame, like, other people. We want to constantly, criticize other people instead of maybe going, what role do I have in this situation?
Yeah. You should really start a podcast.
Just keep having me back. And I mean,
I can.
I mean, we'll just see how much hate mail we get because I'm sure I said something to
Oh,
make somebody mad.
no way. No way. An hour with.
Or they're just
Austin
like,
Luckett.
what is this guy talking about? That was a whole word salad for like an hour.
Oh, well, I don't think that's the case, but
I hope not.
we'll
I hope
have
it
you
makes sense. I mean, if anyone does have questions, I mean, reach out. Absolutely. I mean,
Austin's Instagram is iron dot
iron.pine.
pine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
On Instagram. And if you have some photography you would like printed on metal, it's gorgeous when it's done that way. They can get a hold of you, and that's what you do.
Yeah. So I specialize in metal printing, photography, metal printing. I mean, I photograph events, and I do teach some classes with kids and stuff. But if they're interested in, you're a photographer and you want to get a metal print done, it's ironpine.company is my website.
.company, because there's an
.company.
Iron Pine Photography, and it's not you. It's ironpine.company.
Yeah, there's another ironpine.com, I believe, is another thing. But mine's ironpine.company.
Yes.
You spell that out. So
Okay. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Ascent Life Live. We'll be back next week. So thanks so much for joining us. If you made it this far in the program, please subscribe on YouTube. Could really use your love there at our Brandon Long, or find us on the Ascent Life podcast on your favorite podcast app. Follow me on X and TikTok under our Brandon Long. Thanks for joining me on this journey as we all learn to level up and become the best version of ourselves. No wasted ability. We'll catch you next week on Ascent Life. Cheers.